And hello and welcome to everyone. It's so lovely of you to join us this evening for our colour conversation about colour conversations. So the reason for this call was really just to get us all together because it's just such a nice thing to do. But also because I've put out an update to the Colour Conversations ebook, it just felt like a nice opportunity to kind of bring the energy of colour combinations back into our consciousness again. And for some people who are perhaps newer to colour mirrors, who haven't really worked with colour combinations in any great detail, I thought it might be nice just to share a little bit. But also, because colour conversations and colour combinations have been such a big part of what I do, and obviously a huge opportunity to connect with Melissie over a long period of time, over many years, Melissie and I will have any excuse for a conversation. So we just thought, let's have a conversation. And then we thought, well, why not invite you lot to the party? So it's really lovely that you all came. And thanks to those who've sent me messages who couldn't come tonight but are going to be watching the recording. Hello to you as well. So, Melissie, do you remember what it was like for us when we embarked on this project? Because it was way back, I mean, so many years ago now. And we were updating the Colour Mirrors manual, the training manual for the practitioner program. And in that manual, there was a handful of colour combinations like red and green and yellow and violet, and ones that are taught on the practitioner program. And I remember thinking to myself, but what about all the others? You know, there's so many more. And I said to Melissie, what's yellow and copper about? You know, what's that? And you said, oh, well, let me have a think. And you sent me an email back with a bit of a response. And then I said, oh, yeah, and I'm getting that it might be about this. And then suddenly we were just in this deluge of information. It just was unstoppable. Do you remember, Melissie, the process and what it was like, and then how we decided to get together and see where it would take us?
Oh, absolutely. It was the most exciting thing. What was that? It was, and then you came out, and then it became complete joy. I mean, then it really, because it started off with just you asking kind of questions, and because I'd worked with the previous color system, which had just about every combination going, and I had not wanted to make all those bottles. I wasn't going to make a red and green, and then a green and red, and then a blue and yellow, and then a yellow and blue. And so we were kind of starting out thinking we need this information so that when therapists have somebody choosing colors sitting next to each other, what are they going to say about them? Because there also is that conversation that the colors have with one another. And so we kind of had that ongoing online conversation, and then you came out, and then we sat with all the bottles, and oh my goodness, then we had more fun, and we could have gone on for that year and just carried on playing and playing and playing and playing. And then when we got to the spritzers, can you remember?
Madness. It was complete madness. I mean, we just got so buzzed by so many energies, to put it mildly. We had the most extraordinary energies coming through as we were talking about the combinations of essences in the system. So initially we'd focused on the oil bottles, just the single colored oil bottles, where we'd started with, you know, the yellow of the sun bottle and put it next to the blue of the moon bottle, and what were they saying to each other. But then once we'd been through all of those, we started looking at the essences. So putting the red angel with the pink angel, putting the green dragon with the blue angel. And it was then that things started getting really bonkers. And Melissie's dog, who was quite a creature, went just into such a state while we were talking about these essences, because the energies were so buzzy. Anyway, we had recorded all the conversations so that I could transcribe them afterwards, which ended up being a massive job, as you can imagine. But when we went to play back the conversations about the essences, the most extraordinary thing happened. Do you want to say what happened, Melissie?
No, you can sing that song.
It was literally it was like light language came through the recording, except it was even more bonkers. I mean, it was just, there was a series of clicking and whirring and whizzing and buzzing, and not a single word could be heard. And we literally went through each one, listening back, going, this can't be happening. I mean, I think we were just about hysterical by this stage because it was just so ridiculous. And there was not a single word of what we'd said recorded. And all of it was this otherworldly clicking and buzzing and extraordinary things going on. So we laughed a lot, but then we also figured that there was probably some quite powerful information coming through. So we ended up having to do those conversations again, but it was an incredible process. And one of the fun things was that people would drop by Melissie's house while we were working with the color combinations. And inevitably we'd be in the middle of, you know, something really kind of meaty about something, and someone would turn up unexpectedly. And we would look at each other and say, well, how interesting is that? You know, what's going on in their life that they showed up in this particular moment, in this particular conversation. So it was incredibly interesting for us, but it was a mammoth process. I mean, I think I spent 12 days with you, Melissie, and we just didn't stop.
Yeah.
We were there from sun up to sundown, and then after sundown with a glass of wine in hand, we just kind of carried on.
We didn't stop. We kept trying to stop, and then we'd go, yes, but what about just, oh, I've just suddenly got. But also what was incredibly interesting was as we were doing it, we were having to do our own process. I mean, we put two together and both of us, or one of us would go, ew, that's disgusting. I can't look at that. And then we'd have to sit with it and go, what the hell was that? Why did those colors trigger such a violent response? And we absolutely processed our stuff through that whole thing. It was an amazing experience and exercise to do.
It was like really an initiation. Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, it was an initiation. I mean, our bodies really literally had to process all this information before it could be put into the written form, the form that it's become now as the ebook Color Conversations. Our bodies literally had to process the whole lot. You know, we had to go through the entire lot. It was the most phenomenal experience. But I think, you know, I wouldn't do anything differently. You know, even though some of it was challenging, it was just extraordinary. And so then really I got back to the UK and I started transcribing it, and I just thought, oh, you know, this is such great information, but really, is anyone going to be interested in this? Is it ever going to, you know, what's the point in making this into a book? And then I had the idea, why not just make it an ebook? Because it's never going to be the sort of thing that we can put out there as a published book. It's just not. But the form that it's in an ebook, it's kind of a useful reference guide. And I know a lot of you on the call have already got the book, and thank you for that. And many of you have said how fascinating you find it and how often you use it. If you wish to, please share with us in the chat, you know, any feedback or comments about how you've used it or what you've got from it, just because it's always really interesting to know. And it also helps the people who haven't seen it, who don't know what it's about. For those who haven't, it's 450 pages now almost of conversations between Melissie and I about pretty much all the combinations of bottles in the system. Now, when I say all the bottles, it's just the solid colored ones, because we couldn't introduce dual colored bottles with dual colored bottles, because then suddenly you'd have 4 color combinations, you'd have multiple combinations. So we tried to keep it as simple as we could, and we just took one color and put it with one other color, and then we said, what is this saying? What is going on here? And what did we get? I mean, we got information about patterns, blocks, issues, challenges, but we also get information about gifts and about possibilities and potential. And we got information about past lives, we got information about future lives and cosmic information. I mean, it was the whole gamut, really just everything that could come through did. And it was through this ebook that we began to kind of recognize that there were themes running through the color mirrors system. And these became the 8 spiritual principles that Melissie now, you know, kind of teaches, and that we've obviously included in the Wisdom of Color Mirrors book. And it was through the color conversations that we kind of recognized that there were themes that kept coming up again and again, like judge nothing, like, you know, love is everything, and claim your authentic power. These were the kind of key themes that started to emerge as we did this conversation work. So tonight we're going to gallop through 3 color combinations for you, just to kind of give you a taste and a flavor of what happens when we put colors in combination and bottles in combination, but also then to see what happens when you put them together in one bottle and how that's different. So I've got some slides to share with you. What I'd like
just quickly before you do that, you know, the one big massive thing that happened in the color conversations was that we also did the complementary colors as we went through them. And then when we got to the clear with all the other colors, we suddenly realized we didn't have a complementary to the clear. And then just for show, just so that we could see it, I made the black bottle that then became G8, absolutely not planning to put it in the system at all. And then it sat there and everybody that walked in said, oh my God, I want that. And Korani eventually went, you know what this means, don't you? This is another bottle. And of course, the damn thing is magenta. So it was a bridge. And it was straight after that that we fell into the Golden Gaias, because you were actually back to carry on with color combinations when we suddenly then fell into the whole production of the Golden Gaia. So it kind of was a process that took us way further than we ever intended. Sorry to interrupt. Carry on.
Not at all. No, that was perfect, Melissie. And I remember your resistance to the black bottle was quite huge. And then it was just so obvious that it needed to be part of the system. And now where would we be without it? You know, it's such an important part of the system. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to share some combinations with you tonight, and then do a very short meditation at the end, just so that you can get a sense in your body. What I'm going to invite you to do as we go through these color combinations is to notice how they feel for you. So literally open up to the colors in combination and notice what happens. And then you can share with us if you want to in the chat, anything that comes up for you. So I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully you can see that. This is the first combination, and this is Melissie's choice for tonight. This is platinum and deep magenta, and illumination. So what are your bodies doing with that? How does that feel for you?
Yuck. That's sad.
Okay. If you want to just type in the chat for us, that'd be lovely. Just share what this is like for you.
All right.
If it's difficult, if it's beautiful, if it's interesting, if it makes your body spin. Okay, we've got upset stomach, deeply powerful. I got shivers all over my body. I love it. I'm getting infinity. Great. These are lovely. So, Melissie, what a bit heavy and unsettling, dangerous, oh, unpleasant. My goodness, Melissie, look what you've unleashed. Jade, shadow to light, deep peace and a feeling of power. Feel like being pulled into two different directions. Feel it in the solar plexus, uneasy, pulling apart. Wow, this is so fascinating. Feels like I can't connect with it. It's separate from me. Hope. I know G35 is what it is, and that feels easy to deal with. This one has a bit of stuff to clear first. Yeah, good comment. It's making my heart race. Okay, while you carry on typing your comments in there, Melissie, tell us what this says to you, what this color combination is about.
You know, it's one of those impossible things, because I kind of went top of my head, what would I choose at this point? And that's what came up for me. And having just said how I resisted that illumination bottle, but it is G8 and I'm an 8 numerically. My kind of soul path is an 8. So this for me is very much the what I be on the planet. And I feel that the blue is maybe how I try to be on the planet, but it is definitely the solid magenta is the depth of what I'm here for. Whereas the blue for me is always what I aspire to. I'm certainly not there yet. I'm not that peaceful. I'm not that clear. I fall into that dark, deep hole very quickly and easily. And so it kind of has all the levels of what I do on the planet, I suppose. And typically it has no yellow in it, because why would I have yellow? I'm so bloody brain damaged, you know. So if you don't have a brain that works, yellow makes no sense. So there you go. That's kind of how it feels for me.
Okay, perfect. So I find it a beautiful combination. It resonates deep in my solar plexus, and it also takes me up and high. So I find it very balancing. The words that we wrote about it, I'm just going to tell you the key words that we put in the Color Conversations ebook. We give you some key words, and then we go into the conversation in depth. And the key words for platinum and deep magenta are perfection, dark and the light, both perfect, creation, and allness. Now, G19 Om is the sound of creation, and creation comes out of the void, and the G8 is the void. So in a way, this is the cosmic Big Bang. You know, this is the kind of the starting of it all. So those of you who felt uneasy with it, it's kind of no wonder, because this is incredibly deep and incredibly high at the same time. This is cosmic awakening almost. And it feels as if it's come up at this time because we are going through a little bit of a Big Bang, are we not, in the universe? And you know, we're creating the new Earth. This is kind of the creation of the new Earth. Does that resonate for anybody? Share with us in your comments. Yeah, there's lots of lovely comments here. People are sharing. Takes me to a new place, like a night where the stars are about to show up. Yeah, interesting. Good. Safe, feel peace and power, nothing to worry about. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what it looks like. It's kind of slightly different colors, but it's as close as we can get, what it looks like in one, when you put them in one bottle. Okay, and for a lot of people that will be easier, and for some it will be less powerful. The great thing about color combinations and color conversations and color in general is that there are no rights or wrongs. So it's just about your personal response to the colors. So just notice the difference for you between that in one bottle and that where it's in what Melissie calls big screen. It's like when you put it in one bottle, you get a little bit of diffusion. It's not quite as powerful in some ways because it's one is offset by the other. When it's in split out, when it's separate, perhaps it starts to show us where our separations are, where our splits are, where our rifts are. And this is one of the things we've really noticed about color combinations is when it presses a button for you, it's touching into some kind of separation within you, some kind of split, some kind of challenge, some kind of something that's wanting to be shared. When it makes your heart sing, it's kind of taking you to another level of your own soul and your own essence. I mean, really, truly, color combinations are so rich and so full of information and so powerful. I just want to share with you now what they look like in the essences, because you'll get a slightly different energy from the combinations in the essences than you will in the oils. So how does that one feel for people? Okay. It changes, makes it more clear flowing, more solid, even lighter, brighter. Prefer this combination, balanced, softer, love these, not as powerful. We see it's so interesting. Some people are finding it again more powerful, some people finding it less. And it's just perfect because it's a mirror of where you are, as always with color mirrors. So there's no right or wrong, it's just meeting you where you're at. But kind of interesting, isn't it, to feel the differences between the oils and the essences in similar colors. Okay, just looking at your comments again. Okay, good. Resonates deep when in the two separate bottles. Excitement in the belly. Yeah, beautiful. Okay. So that's the first combination. And as I said, it just kind of felt really relevant. Melissie, I just said to Melissie, pick a combination, and this is what she came up with. And of course, it's on the button for where we're at right now, the Big Bang. Look out, world. And then, of course, I got to choose one. And Melissie, when I told her what it was, said, where's Korani? What have you done with her? Because what I chose was pale gold and copper. And perhaps in the past, I might not have chosen the copper. I think I always would have chosen the pale gold. I think that's been so me, just as Melissie always feels incredibly present in the platinum. For me, it's the pale gold. But I've always loved this combination. And I remember when I went to visit Melissie and we started this whole process, asking her about this. And when the golden Gaias were made, you actually made one of these, didn't you, Melissie? You made a pale gold with a copper fraction. And we decided in the end that it wasn't going to be one of the 7 golden Gaias, but it was one that really spoke to me. So tell me how this one's Tell us how this one's feeling for you. Yeah, loving this, beautiful gentleness. Okay, great. Lovely, warm and welcoming, harmonizing, rich and warm. There is something so warm about them. I kind of get a deserty lifetime here. You know, it feels like probably because I'm yearning for some heat. Maybe that's why I chose this combination, but it just feels like a lifetime in the desert and under the sun, and kind of opening and awakening under the sun. But what's interesting, the key words that we wrote for pale gold and copper, we called this a bridge and a transition, because we've got the copper of the 3D earth, the old earth, if you like, and the pale gold of the new earth. So this is a combination that's about bridging worlds. It's about being able to be here now as the world is, as the earth is right now, but also knowing that we are in 5D. We are also the way showers and the bridge makers to the new reality, to the new earth. And
Korani,
yes.
it's another Big Bang.
Huh. Yeah, it is. Totally. That's kind of exciting, isn't it? Oh dear, what are we unleashing on the world, Melissie? 2 big bangs in one evening.
We've done that before.
Yeah, indeed we have. I think every time we get together, we we unleash something, don't we? Anything else you want to share about this one, Melissie?
I just really love this in terms of your choice, because when we started making soul bottles, yours was always rosy, kind of rich pink with a pale gold. And for me, this feels like such a delicious kind of blending, coming together of your soul self, because the gold is now filtered into the pink, which makes it copper. So now that gold is gone right the way through, there's no separation anymore. You've now got all your aspects kind of coming together. And I just think that is an incredible integration, illumination, wondrous thing that is working. And also it's earth, you know, this is where we've got to do the job. We can't be floating above it while we're trying to birth the new earth. We've got to stick our feet in it.
That's exactly it. I'm just going to have a look at your comments. Thank you, Melissie, for that. I'm just going to see what people are saying here. Warmth and mother. Funnily, Alka, we absolutely said that. We said it takes, this is some of the words from the ebook, it takes the warmth of Mother Earth right into your heart. It's the old earth and the new earth, like a passageway between the old and the new, and that this person is a bridge. So yeah, that's exactly spot on. They warm my heart chakra. It spreads out and makes me smile. Feels like sitting in a garden in mindfulness, aware of creation and in joy. And a softer big bang than the first combination. Indeed. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, really interesting to see what you're feeling about that. And again, as with the previous one, I just want to show you what they look like. That's that color combination in the oils. And it's, you know, I don't know about you, but for me, it's not so joyful. It's still a beautiful combination, but it's not as blissful as that the combination in the essences. So what do you feel about this? And Shirley's finding it a little bit difficult. Okay, sure. Understandable. But what we said, Melissie, some of the words we said about this combination was, this is somebody who's very consciously doing that work here on earth, bringing light, bridging worlds, being here and now, but also able to reach out to the new. And that this person is invaluable at this time, as so many people are waking up to the new and are often unsure what that means or how to live it. So again, you know, I can see why this color combination has come up at this time, because this is what we're all here for, isn't it? This is what we're all doing. We are all here to be bridging the worlds. And it's more important now than it's ever been, that we can have a foot in both camps, that we can still relate to the 3D world. We can still be part of that and come from our hearts, but we don't have to be mired down by it. We don't have to be bogged down by it, because we know that we are part of the new golden earth. Okay. And so again, although it's not an exact match, I wanted to just show you that in combination, where this is actually not the pale gold, this is the rich gold with copper. But essentially it's the same color combination, the gold and the copper coming together. And it's of course our lovely Earth Wisdom bottle. so interesting to note how that all feels for you. Yeah, warm hug. Yeah, that's great. So are you noticing how the pulling apart is very different to when it's in one bottle? And this is part of the exploration that we go on through the color combinations workshops and through the color conversations ebook, as we really start to unpick what is going on in color combinations. And one of the things I love to do with people to help them to get a sense of color combinations is obviously for you to hold them in your hands. So in a moment, well, once we've done the next combination and we do a little meditation, if you've got color bottles with you at home and you can choose a combination, I'm going to ask you to actually pick them up and hold them. And then obviously in workshops as well, we can place them on your body and you can start to feel what color combinations do on your body. Other ways you can work with them is obviously just using the information and the wisdom and the knowledge that the combinations have to share with you to help when you're working with your clients. Because when they're choosing color combinations, it's so rich. I can't imagine working with anybody with color bottles not knowing about the color combinations, because there's so much rich information that comes from them. But also even just for yourself, if you're not a color practitioner, if you're just wanting to work with color for yourself, what the information gives you is just a really clear guide to be able to help you to find where your fears are, where your blocks are, where your challenges are, and to be able to resolve them. I mean, obviously you can just do that anyway, but there's something about, I always say that color combinations for me is where color gets really juicy. It's where it gets really kind of yum. There's just so much, which was evidenced by the massive amounts of pages of the ebook and the conversations that went on for years actually between Melissie and I. And I think possibly one of the reasons why we had to end up doing an update and adding the Lilac Dragon, Melissie, was because we just missed it so much.
And why we had to do that next color wisdom book, because that was our best thing, was to get together and speak color.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, this was the reason in a way that the book was called Color Conversations. It's many layered. One is because it was literally conversations that were being transcribed for you, but also it was about the bottles having conversations, the colors having conversations with each other. And then it's about how you converse with the color combinations and with the bottles themselves, because life is relationship, isn't it? And so we can look at one color and get a lot from that, but if we put it with something else, it then starts to show us the patterns and the connections that happen. And as I said earlier, it also can show up where the blocks are and where the rifts are and where the separations occur. So it's very much, the book includes a lot of positive information for you to really kind of support you and encourage you and benefit you, but it will also, we did not shy away from the tricky stuff in this book. There is really, the ability to kind of look at the dark stuff within ourselves, which we obviously had to do as we were going through this process. So it just is about taking your color journey to another level, I suppose. So our third combination is one chosen by one of our lovely viewers, and it is solid silver and pink. Now, we don't have a solid silver bottle, but the closest we have to it is this diamond bottle, Unity G27 with Venus. So tell us how that one's feeling for you. Would love to know. Oh, yum. Divine and sparkly. Safe, safe, safe. Yeah, nice. Clear, clear, incisive. Shining a light bulb on love. Gorgeous, clean and clear. Makes me smile. Warm, cuddly, and joyful. Yeah, beautiful. There's such a softness here. I think the other two were quite kind of full on, weren't they? That's you and me, Melissie, coming in with, no holds barred. This is lovely. There's this soft gentleness. And when we talked about this color combination, we said pure love, angelic love, innocence, childlike magic, being without judgment. And we talked about the Essenes. Now, Melissie, would you like to just share a bit about that with this combination?
Oh, the Essenes were the brotherhood that Christ belonged to, and they were called the White Brotherhood because they wore white robes, but also because they did life in a way that was completely and utterly without judgment. theirs was the kind of the clearest line of the ancient teachings that had come out from Egypt via Moses and the Ark and the whole story that came through there. But those were the original Atlantean teachings, and presumably one can imagine that it actually came from Lemuria. So this is the oldest, deepest ability to be clear and loving, and it's kind of the energy very much that we use in the system, Korani, don't you think? I mean, this is our Yeshua kind of in his widest screen vision. It's all the love and all the light and all the kind of complete unconditionality that you could possibly imagine. So it has that, it's for people who love it. It's definitely a lifetime at the time of the Essenes. It's definitely people who walked with Christ when he was alive, and certainly the ones that are bringing that energy into their lives and into the world at the moment, where it is once again so desperately needed. Because I mean, that energy appears when there's a shift of you know, from one age to another. It was when it shifted from was it Aries into Pisces, and now we're shifting from Pisces into Aquarius, and so we're kind of very much needing that energy now to create the shift and to bring in the new earth.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. And that was, you know, one of the reasons why it sort of jumped out at us as being the third combination to speak about tonight. Was it's just again never been needed more, and is so kind of prevalent now. What's really interesting is that there is a shadow side to these colors as well. And if anybody there, and I haven't been reading your comments just now, but if there is anybody that is finding this difficult or is challenged by it, there could be some difficult stuff here. And what we said was that this could be the existential grief of being female. This is about kind of all the tears that have ever been shed for the sisterhood. Difficulty being on the planet, excessive purity are some of the things that could come up with this one. Also an absent mum. So really, you know, with each combination, we've really looked at all its gifts and all its blessings, and then we've looked at its shadow, because they're so equally important. And so there, you know, there is a shadow side to this, just as there is a blessing. But again, how perfect and how pertinent that it's kind of coming up now, that this is the time to welcome the female and male balance. And in fact, in the book, what you said, Melissie, was the Essenes had a strong equality between male and female. And these are such strongly feminine colors that one can see the potential for female power indicated. It's a clue as to what is to come when we become love and light. Can we perhaps say here that if we were totally in our true state, this would be the ultimate marriage of male and female? So how wise were you?
Every now and again.
Yeah, I just want to say to any of you who've not read or not got the Color Conversations ebook, there is so much wisdom in there from Melissie that I knew nothing of, and that was a complete revelation to me when I met Melissie and she started telling me all of this extraordinary information. And you know, a lot of that wisdom has found its way into other things like the Wisdom of Color Mirrors book, and also your own beautiful book, Melissie, What the Seeker Found. But there's a depth and a wealth and a richness of information about those kind of things, like the Essene community, that I just had no idea about at all, that you brought through, that was just mind-blowing for me. So yeah, I highly recommend.
You know, Korani, you say that, but I mean, you triggered lots of it. You know me. I sit kind of fairly empty-headed. This is very much me. The lights are on, what no one's home. You know, it's really. And then Korani would come and she would prod, and then suddenly something would jump out. So no, I'm not sitting here all filled with wisdom like Buddha, fatly smiling, a little bit fat and a little bit smiley, but not so much wisdom until it gets triggered by my friend Korani, who kind of brings it out of me.
Well, whatever you say, Melissie, we'll take your word for that. But yeah, and also one of the things that when I look back on the Color Conversations book, you know, when I was just editing it this time, giving it a bit of a spring clean, what came to me was that because Melissie and I are such vastly different personalities and come from such different places, we bring a totally different perspective to the combination. So you'll get Melissie's perspective and you'll get my perspective, and then you'll get whatever wanted to come through us that was nothing to do with either of us. And you know, yeah, it was an amazing co-creative process between us and the bottles and the universe and so many beings. I mean, you know, there's a lot of kind of quite starry information and cosmic information, but there's also loads of really practical stuff about, you know, what you're needing to look at if this combination is a challenge for you, and so on. So as I did with the others, I'm just going to quickly show you what they look like in the essences. See what you think of those. And then we don't have a pale pink and clear or silver bottle, but we have got the nearest to it, of course, is our beautiful Silver Gaia Love and Miracles G33. So again, just notice how your body responds to the different color combinations, to the different energies when they're in one and when they're separated out. It's just always very, very useful to have a look at those things. So does anybody have any questions? You may have posted questions in the chat, and if you have, I apologize, because they'll have scrolled well up now. So if you do have any questions, you can please repeat them in the chat, and I will keep an eye on them and see if they come up and I can answer them. Or Melissie, throw them over to Melissie if I can't. So people seem to be loving G33. No questions from anybody? Feel the cutting through of the silver. Yeah. And of course, there is a silver workshop coming up, which I'll talk to you about in a moment once we've finished the call. And also something else that I've got to share with you as well, which I'll mention once we're finished. I'm just going to see if any questions do want to come up. It looks like no. We must have answered everything that people wanted to know, Melissie.
Yeah.
And so what we'll do now is, if you would like to, is grab yourself a color combination if you've got some bottles at home, one that's kind of just calling you. And it's often nice to get either 2 oils or 2 essences. Of course, you can have one of each, but it's kind of comparing apples and apples rather than apples and oranges. It just kind of makes it a simpler process. But if you don't have any bottles, I'm in the meditation, don't worry, I'm going to invite you just to connect with a combination anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But whichever you're doing, if you're going to go for some bottles or not, just when you're ready to, if you'd like to just close your eyes, settle in, take a few deep breaths, just get comfortable. And I'm just going to invite you to imagine a blank screen, a blank white screen. So you can kind of let go of all the combinations that we've looked at in this evening's chat. And just come into a space of neutrality. And then invite a color to appear on your blank white screen. And just don't censor it, just the first one that comes, let it be what it is. And then welcome a second color. And please just try and only have 2. You can have more, of course, but it just makes things more complicated. So then invite a second color onto your blank screen. And then again, no censoring. You may like the color combination that's come for you, or you may not. Either way, just be with it. And of course, if you have bottles in your hand, you can just focus on those colors. It's entirely up to you, whichever way you go for it. Just feel for 2 colors that are coming to you, that are wanting to share with you. They want to have a conversation with you right now. So just be still for a moment and be silent. And tune in with your higher wisdom, your own higher knowing, your soul self. Tune in to this combination. And whatever it's saying to you, how does it feel in your body? What are you noticing? Is there a message for you? Are you getting a download that maybe isn't in words, but just going to be coming through you in energy? If you're holding them in your hands, what is it like if you swap them around and put them in the opposite hand? Notice how that feels. If you're holding bottles, put them on your body somewhere. Notice how that feels. If you're just working with the colors in your inner eye, in your third eye, again, notice where in your body wants these colors. Where are they wanting to go? Do they want to go to the same place, or does one go somewhere and one go somewhere else? There are no rights or wrongs. Just notice what's happening. Notice your conversation with these colors and their conversation with you. And then whenever you feel ready to, you can just open your eyes, come on back, let go of that combination, and know that you can come back to it later if it had more to share with you. Tonight's really just a quick taster for you. And then if anyone would like to share in the chat how that was for you, anything that happened, anything you noticed, you're welcome to do that. Okay, yellow on indigo, and interesting to know how that was for you. Okay, so rather than just sharing the colors that you had, tell us how it was for you. What did you notice? The message was, it is okay to experience the power of being you. Wow, that's fabulous. Did anybody have a combination that was uncomfortable for them? Okay, bit of old deep trauma coming up. Yep, for sure. And maybe a bath, you know, if that we definitely noticed that happen, Melissie. Oh my goodness, we had to have baths, didn't we? We really did. When you're doing this combination work, baths are essential. Because the body is, you know, old stuff is being brought up and it does need to be worked with and processed. Quite often we found that just sitting with the color combination would actually do it. Just sitting with it, being with it, talking about it, kind of feeling into it. And then within a minute or two, we'd go, oh, you know what, that's fine. It's done. There's no issue there anymore. But when we got stuck, that's when we needed to have a bath. Okay, there's some messages coming through from people. Wonderful. The colors I picked were superseded by different colors that came up in my third eye, and that was stronger. That's really interesting. Message was to dare to be brave and be true to who I came here to be. That's fabulous. And a combination that was not expected. Okay, interesting. That's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing those. And yeah, really interesting. I will go back and read all your comments after this because it's fascinating to see what you experienced. So I want to just share with you a couple of things. One is obviously that if you haven't got the ebook yet and you would like it, you can get it from my website, which is just korani.net. And it's on there. You'll find it under books, kind of straightforward. It's 450 pages worth for £12, so it's not a bad deal. It will be sent to you in ebook format in a PDF. Some people I know print it off. It is a whole ream of paper to print it off, unless you take it to a print shop and get them to do it in a booklet form, which is, you know, one option people have used. Or of course you can just use it on your device. I know that a lot of people use it as a reference tool to add to the wisdom of color mirrors. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that if you liked this and you enjoyed color conversations and color combinations and want more, I'm going to be offering a 2-part introduction to color combinations online the first 2 Saturdays in July. I know it's a little way off yet, only a couple of months. So the 3rd and the 10th of July, I'll be doing 3-hour sessions each day. So that'll be 6 hours in total. And it won't be the certificated course that many of you have already done, which is the 2-day full practitioner training program, but it'll be for anyone who just wants to go deeper with color combinations, who wants to know more, who wants to have very experiential. It will be very much about you experiencing and going through exercises, meditations, but also learning a little bit more about color combinations and how they work and how you can use them in your own life. So that is now up on my website, and you can book anytime online if you would like to do that. The second thing is that, of course, the Earth series is underway. We started with the gold Accessing Your Inner Gold on the 6th of April. And on the 4th of May, we've got part 2, which is Embracing Your Uniqueness. And this is working with the silver energy. And it's a 2-hour webinar on the Tuesday, the 4th of May from 6 till 8 p.m. And again, that's on my website. And I think it's going to be fascinating to work with silver, because gold, many of us have worked with and we kind of know it and it feels familiar. Silver's a little bit unknown for many of us. What I've been finding is that there's a huge, beautiful energy of clarity that comes through with silver. It's very incisive. It's very good at cutting away the crap and leaving only what is real and what is true and what is kind of really aligned with your soul. So again, that's coming up very soon, next week actually, isn't it? 4th of May. So I can't wait personally to share all of that with you, because I absolutely love doing this work, and you are always such a joy to work with, and we get so much from our communications with you. Melissie, is there anything you would like to share about anything before we close for the evening?
No, I just want to say, please do the 2-day thing with Korani, because that will be total joy, and I'm definitely joining, if I may.
No.
Oh, right then.
Yeah, no, we couldn't. No, we'd love to have you. Absolutely, that would be fantastic.
Okay, great. So please
Cool.
come and join us for that. I will definitely have to see what all else you've come up with and what's new. And then the silver thing as well, I'm definitely joining, because I just think that is amazing stuff you're doing. So thank you so much, all of you, for being here. And thank you, Korani, for organizing this.
I'm just going to stop sharing my screen so that we can actually, oh no, what a pleasure. What an absolute joy. Thank you all so very much for being here. It's been fabulous. I'm going to stay on, and Melissie, you can if you have the time and the space, just in case anybody wants to chat with us at the end. Otherwise, thank you all so very much.